Let's do
Welcome
this.
to Gab and Jam.
Yes.
Episode 250.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Get off.
I love
Get
it.
going. All right. All right. All right. So what are we talking about today?
All right, so today we are talking about secrets to a long-lasting marriage for the D.I.Y rock star.
Yes.
We know, well, as you guys might already know, this year celebrates 34 years of marriage for us.
Yes.
And for some people, they say it's a miracle. We don't think necessarily it's a miracle. We think there are practical principles
Yes.
that you can employ so that no matter who you are,
Yep.
rock star or not, that you can have a healthier marriage.
That's right. That's right. So let's kick it off. What's number one on our list?
Okay, so even
How to
before
do that.
we talk,
How
even
to
before we
do
talk
this.
about that,
Very difficult thing.
you said something when I first was telling you about this episode that you think the key to everything
Well,
is
that's
to...
all I'm saying. Go ahead.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
don't have that in my list because it actually...
I know. Yeah, but let's start with your first one, then I'll just go ahead and I'll hit that one, okay?
Okay, all right.
So go ahead. Start with
All
your
right,
first one.
so 5 secrets to a long-lasting marriage for the DIY rock star.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is treat each other the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, I think that is huge.
Yes.
And I think that kind of goes to the overarching principle,
Mm-hmm.
which is usually going to start off with you should marry your best friend.
Okay.
And so that kind of goes into treating a person the way you want to be treated. Because a
Right.
lot of times you develop these relationships with your friends over time where you've seen them through a variety of different moods.
Okay,
You've
okay,
had
good.
arguments,
All right,
you've
I
had
got
all
you.
these different things. But as friends, because you've been friends all these years,
Yes.
you always overcome these things and you figure out a way
Mm-hmm.
to hold on to that quintessential thing that keeps you together.
Yes.
So that to me is the first and most important ingredient because the other aspect is going to be hard work.
Yeah.
You know,
which
because-
is our next tip. So the first
Right.
tip was treat each other the way you want to be treated.
That's right.
The second one is be prepared to work through
You got to
issues because there will be issues.
And the only way you're going to be able to do that is that the relationship has got to be worth the work.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that you have to marry your best friend because it's the relationship, that underlying camaraderie that you have with your friend is always worth. You know, hey, we argued about
Right.
blah, blah, blah. They say, oh, they got me so upset. But, you know, because you miss those great times that you have together. And there's so many different things that you share together.
Right.
That it's always worth the work
Yeah.
to get past your disagreements. And a lot of times, even with your friends, you get to a point where you agree to disagree.
Yeah.
There might be, you know,
Right.
you can have best friends. You might not have the same favorite football team. You might not like
Yeah.
all of the same music, but you're going to like a lot of the same music, but
Yeah.
maybe you don't like the same artist or you don't
Yeah.
like the same songs or this
Well,
is
we
your song and
realized-
that's your song. You
What
know?
was odd for us is we realized early on that we couldn't share our same workspace. Remember how we only had one computer?
Right.
And I thought I would be able to do what I needed to do,
Right.
and you would be able to run the studio in the same space.
Yeah.
And early on, we realized that we need separate spaces to do our creation, and then we come together.
Right. We didn't necessarily always collaborate in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
You know, so, and we're going to probably hit on this too, and that is the fact that you've got to find the rules for your own relationship.
Yeah.
You know, that you can't grab other people's rules as we're giving you rules for having a relationship.
No, we're giving you
And
tips.
that's-
Not to these are
right.
these are our guidelines that will help then that way you can figure out
Yes.
what works.
Yes.
So that's
yes,
kind of how
yes.
I look at it.
No,
Yeah,
that's a good distinction.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
I don't want you to come away feeling like,
No,
you know,
no.
it's now you're giving me rules telling me that.
No, I'm just saying
as
the
much
thing
as
is like I would hope that you don't want to be treated poorly. So that's why I treat each other the way you want to be treated. So
Right.
these are just guiding principles for humanity.
Right.
And then I think they help a couple thrive.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and within that.
And the thing about the friendship is that you hear about people who've been friends for years and years and years and years, and you wonder, you know, that to me, if you're talking about bonding with someone as, you know, your spouse or significant other, I just don't know how you do that without that element.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, that to me is an important aspect of it. You know, unless, you know, there are certain people who are married for other reasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because
You know,
marriage is also
it's a
legal,
business.
legally binding partnership.
And for some people, it is a business arrangement, and you know, I'm not knocking that. And if that is what works for you, you know, amen and hallelujah.
Yeah.
You know, so go ahead.
All right, so the third, I would say secret to our success, but also I would suggest would be critical is to prioritize the relationship between you and your spouse over the needs of your kids. And I know that is probably going to ruffle quite a few feathers.
That is, and there's also that aspect too, is I think a lot of times with couples, sometimes, you know, a pregnancy or, you know, having kids may be the way your relationship starts.
Right.
So, like at the beginning of the relationship, you know.
Or that you had kids before you came
together.
So there are all
kinds of different things that might kind of really blur this a bit.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a discussion you really should have.
Yeah.
You know, along the way is, okay, you know, if we do have kids, how are we going to handle this? As far as, you know, as just one person going to be responsible for the rearing, getting up in the middle of the night, you know, because we kind of had a shared duty type of thing. It's sort of like,
but
you know,
we waited 10 years. So
we did.
We waited.
But we did kind of divide the labor up. You know, it's like, I for me, I spent a lot of time washing bottles and all the rest of that kind of stuff. That was kind of like my aspect of what I would do, you know, getting up, and I know you got up probably more than I did.
Yeah, but
you know,
the good part about Bruce was I realized early on that I didn't like taking our kids to the grocery store or to any store.
Right.
And so Bruce was always there on Sunday morning, and I started realizing all grocery shopping will happen on Sunday. So he always knew that those few hours I had that time to me. But like you said, we negotiated that between, okay, this is what's going to work best for both of us.
You know, I mean, so and then I would take on that. I took on the laundry.
Yeah.
I took on just different aspects so that, you know, it kind of, you know, gave you a little bit more leeway with other stuff. So you know, you kind of have to figure out how you're going to divide the labor.
Yeah.
You know, what you're going to do to make those type of things happen.
Yeah. But because I guess the reason why you want to prioritize your relationship over your kids' needs is because you need to have a relationship once the kids are gone.
Right.
And there's so many times that we hear people divorcing after 25 years or 20 years, and it's like, well, the kids are grown, and now we can't even sit and have a cup of coffee.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, well, that's because you didn't prioritize keeping your bond strong.
Yeah.
I mean, and we also...
keeping that friendship, so you have to have, like, the date nights and things like that kind of built in. And I know sometimes it's tough, you know, if you don't have, like, you know, family members or people like that that can keep your kids.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes maybe you have to, you know, splurge for, you know, having somebody, you know, or paying to have somebody keep your kids that you trust or something like that.
Or even
in order to do that.
Sometimes it's having nights on the couch where we decide we're going to watch something, just the two of us.
Yeah.
You know, early on I know there's a lot of kiddie movies involved because you're trying to entertain the kids. But maybe sometimes put the kids to bed and say, we're going to spend time.
Yeah.
Just us two.
Yeah.
Doing something fun where we can talk or enjoy.
And sometimes maybe it doesn't happen at night. You know, maybe sometimes maybe you take a day off and you do it while the kids are in school. You know what I mean? Or the kids are in daycare or something like that. You know, you do that, and so that you don't take every single, you know, day that you have off and say, well, I have this off, so I'm not going to take the kids to daycare. Maybe you still take the kids to daycare.
Yeah,
and you
I like
say,
that.
okay, let's, you know, us go ahead and spend some time together. So
because every conversation can't be about the heavy stuff.
Right.
It can't be about the bills, the kids, the what's going wrong.
Right.
We need to have conversations about, hey, what do you think about that movie?
Right.
Or what, you know.
Yeah, you can't forget who you are because you have kids.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because again, you're only going to have kids for a certain period of time.
And it's gone.
Yeah,
just
it's gone before you know it. You know,
and it seems like it's forever, but when you're done with it, you're like, geez, that was fast.
You know, especially if your kids go away to school.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if they go out of state to school, and then once they get out of school, you know, what they decide to do after that.
Yeah.
And they move on with their lives.
Yeah.
Which is what they should do.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
But at the same token, you know, your life doesn't stop and you don't want your life to just revolve around your kids.
And you don't want to wake up and find out you don't know the person lying next to you.
Right.
So that was number 3. Number 4 is figure out ways to spend time together, and that around things that you value together.
Right.
So we talked about date night, but also passion projects, also movies, fitness. Some people, they go to the gym together, or they work out together, or they or if they're, into missionary work, maybe they volunteer at the soup kitchen, whatever it is, that they have something that as a couple. And then for us, of course, we had music.
Right.
So, it was an obvious combination of us working together on that. That's always kind of been the core. That's how we met.
Yeah.
And so that's the core.
But that goes back to the best friend thing.
Yeah.
Again, you've got to want to spend time with this person.
Yeah.
And, and early on, you need to realize that, hey, is this somebody I really enjoy spending time with? Or do I have my life so segmented where, I only have this small little thing that I do with this person.
Right.
But, when I want to do this, I'm with this person. When I want to do this, I'm with this person. When I want to do this, I'm with this person. And so you get to a point where if you ever kind of move on from this small little thing that you share in common, you're not going to have anything else.
Yeah. Or then once kids come, it
Right.
just really messes that.
If
that's all you had.
Yeah, it's more than just, hey, this is somebody, when I want to go out and I need to have your significant other with me, that this is a person I go with.
Yeah.
And so, we've been doing this for a long time, and wow, you don't have anything better to do. I don't have anything better to do. Let's get married.
Right.
It's got to be something a lot more than that. Or, hey, I had a baby with this person. And so now we've decided we're going to get married, which I don't think anybody's doing that anymore, because now baby's mama and baby's daddy is starting to become just so baked into, our culture or our culture. I just think that,
I'd say that's a topic for another day.
Right.
We can talk a while about that. All right. And then finally, back to what you said earlier, is realize that your relationship is not going to be like other folks.
Yeah.
Because you need to figure out what works for you.
You do.
And that even goes for people who go as far as open marriages, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Situation
if you're Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, and if they have a relationship, whatever they have, whatever works for them, great for them. Bill and Hillary Clinton, whatever works for them, that's great for them. Just because it wouldn't necessarily work for you, doesn't mean that their relationship is bad. And that's the same thing for you. Just because if there's something about your relationship that's unorthodox, but it works for the two of you, and you're good with it, then that's who you are. And you just have to own and be happy with who you are. And if the relationship is working, then don't knock it because it doesn't line up against what other people think the relationship should be. Because people sell you on what a perfect relationship. Oh, we never argue. And I'm just a strong believer that if you've never argued with a person, I don't think you really know them. Somebody's not telling the truth. That's just to me. I could be completely wrong on that, but I just feel like you really don't get to know a person until you've argued with that person. Until also you don't realize the strength of your relationship until you can have these things that you disagree with. And you could be fine to agree to disagree.
Or even games. Some people are so competitive.
Right. Yeah.
And you won't know that. If they're sore losers, then that
would have been me.
Well,
we had that with checkers, right?
So it was like that with checkers. Bruce used to lose to me all the time, and he just wanted to play, and then eventually he learned all my tricks, and he always wins. But it took a strong person to say, I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna go back, and I appreciated that instead of you just say, I don't like you. And just move on and go find somebody else to play with. So I do appreciate that. And so I know that, if I play him today, he's probably gonna beat me in checkers, and that's fine. I'm not so competitive that bothers me.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Sometimes you have to understand that aspect too. That what it is about a person that might be kind of irritating to you about that person, and And sometimes if you're dating a person, you don't get that.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
Oh, yeah, you don't. Then when we lived together, you know, and I had to get used to some things. But then you start realizing nobody is perfect. You're not perfect.
Right. Yeah.
So you can't put these, I'm never going to I'm going to like everything about a person.
Right,
I'm sorry. That's just unrealistic. We're humans. I'm sorry.
We are. And you can't just, you know, and that's the thing. If you are living with a person, a lot of times, you know, people can't be fake 24/7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're going to get the real.
Yeah.
You know, and that's going to tell you something.
Yeah.
As to whether or not you can be with this person. But at the same token, you know, like you're saying, I mean, you have to realize that, you know, you're not perfect either.
No.
You know, so, but we're not telling you to put up with everything.
Right.
You know, somebody beating your lights out, you don't be with that person.
Yeah.
You get away from that person. Somebody is emotionally or verbally abusive, something like that, you don't have to put up with that person.
No. You stand up for yourself.
Right.
And if they can't deal with that, then that's not for you.
Those aren't the kind of things that we're talking about. You
not at all.
We're just, that is not the thing. You know? So, I mean, we're talking about things that, you know, that maybe somebody's a little bit messy or somebody's a little bit this. So, you know what I mean? And so you have to realize if you are a clean freak, you won't be able to handle that.
Or
you know what I mean?
you will just say to yourself, I know that I have to be the one to be the balance. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. But sometimes people who are clean freak, you will get resentful. You know what I mean? Because you'll start feeling like you should be doing this. You should be and if you get to that point where you are trying to change that person to be something, that's not gonna work. It has to be something that you can kind of say, okay, you know, I'm good with that. I understand this about this person, and I'm actually fine with that. And you have to get to that. I'm not saying that it has to be a thing where you're like, oh, I'm just celebrating. No, it's just got to be a thing that, okay, I understand that that's their thing, you know, and sometimes you're gonna have that. You know, but if it's that kind of thing that is always like, oh, this is irking me, it's not gonna work.
No, and you probably should have a conversation too, and try to explain the reasons why.
Yeah, you can, know, but at the same token, so that person might be feeling like, you know, I think you're a bit unreasonable with this. This is not that big of a deal, and now all of a sudden I got to be trying to do this. You might get the resentment on the other side. And so that's why, you know, I mean, sometimes people may make changes. They may do certain things, but it has to almost kind of come from them. Yeah. And that's the other aspect of this is empathy. Yeah. And sometimes you got to be able to have that in order to make relationships work too. And then there's a certain, when you have empathy, if you do need to do these types of changes, you'll be willing to do it. Yeah. Just because of that.
Or you grow. I'm saying.
You do.
I keep saying I'm on my minimalism journey, wilderness experience right now, and so you know, I'm growing and I never thought when I first heard people talking about it, I'm like, they're crazy. Like, I'm not giving up my stuff. But now I'm like, in some ways it makes so much sense. But we'll talk about that on Podmas. So catch us about a month and a half from now. We will have a whole series on that. All right. So what do you guys think? What do you think is super important to keep a relationship healthy? Please put it in the comments below. And what else?
And of course, you can stream Sugarfit everywhere. You can get the CD if you want to get the CD. You get it from CD Baby. You can get it from Bandcamp. And we also have what?
Ringtones.
All right.
All right. We're also working on our first book. How to be the next DIY rock star. So just there's a link below if you want to pre-order. All right, if you dig the vibe and you want to be a part of the tribe, be sure to
subscribe.
We're wishing you love, peace, and
chicken